is this real? This can't be real.
In a world infested with semi-mediocre podcasts, only one show can bring you an exceptionally mediocre podcast. It's the Indispensable Thursday Show with Sable and Dave.
It was fun reading some of the 5-star reviews I see on iTunes.
Only 5-star reviews for this podcast.
Thank you, people who reviewed the show. It's yes, sirree, we got plenty of 5-star reviews. Don't treat us any differently out there. Just, if you see us in the street, because we're just a couple guys with a podcast with 5-star reviews.
5 stars.
So thank you guys for doing that. But we need even more people. Tell your friends. Get on there and write some more reviews, because mediocrity never goes out of style. That's us.
That's right. And it's mostly for bragging rights. So we'll take your feedback. You can let us know how much you hate us or how much you like us. But the reviews are there for the world to see.
Yeah.
And we can brag to our friends about it, coworkers. We can tell Coda how many 5-star reviews he got. Poor old dog.
Coda, I give you a 5-star review.
He's
He's just licking himself over there.
Right. He heard 5-star review and decided to lick his crotch.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Coda.
Good stuff. Anyway, do we have an opening for the show? I just said I wanted to thank our 5-star reviewers, but beyond that, we don't have anything written down on this little sheet here in any sort of order.
You have a lot of writing on your sheet.
I have a lot of, yeah.
I thought you had some sheet for us, man. And that whole workshop you were.
No, this is just me doing some. That's my show prep. I actually did a little bit of show prep.
Wow.
And I'm sure it won't be apparent to the listeners, but I did it anyway, so screw you guys.
Well, I wanted to let you know that I finished Harry Potter, the 7th book.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks ago, I read book 6 when Lori finished book 7. And she and my oldest were just dogging me to finish 7 so we could talk about Harry Potter, because Jacob especially has been holding it in for weeks since he finished the series. So last week I read book 7, and I have to say the series really, it picked up. By book 4, I was really anticipating every chapter. Book 5 was excellent. Book 6, it was so good I was able to blast through it in a few days. And book 7, every waking moment from chapter 3 on, I was just reading that book to get through and find out what happens.
Is that me making that weird noise?
No, that's me.
Oh, okay.
For some reason, I have a chair instead of the yoga ball, and it's going creak, creak.
The anti-podcast chair.
That's an anti-podcast chair. So I just want to say,
book 7 really good?
Really good. So if any of the listeners out there, if you haven't read, if you're like me and you missed the Harry Potter time of your life, where we read Tolkien when we were younger, and we watched The Karate Kid, and then life happened, and all these people grew up reading Harry Potter. You're like, what the heck? Those movies weren't that great. I highly suggest books 5, 6, and 7. Excellent books.
Okay. I have the audiobook, so I'm going to get on those. I think I should
I've heard they're pretty
cue
good.
them up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love audiobooks.
And what are you reading now?
I'm reading, physically reading with my eyeballs, not listening to, is the new the latest Adam Carolla book called President Me, where he lays out his plan for if he was president, what he would do. And it's quite amusing, quite entertaining.
Do you think that's a serious run-up to an entertainer running for president?
No, but I wish it was. But no, he'd probably be better than Donald Trump. Even though I'm starting to like Donald Trump, by the way, all this Donald Trump activity is
great
pretty
entertainment
fun.
Value, but not really serious. I mean, I can't possibly like the guy.
As crazy as he is, I still think better than President Hillary Clinton. Doesn't matter. Yeah. I will take that guy over President Hillary Clinton. Did I make a plea to the podcast listeners last week? I meant to
vote for Bernie Sanders.
Well, anybody but Hillary. If you nominate anybody but Hillary, I will vote for that candidate. So you get an extra vote if you do that.
Oh, nice.
If it's Bernie Sanders, I'll vote for Bernie Sanders. Just not Hillary.
So
she can't be rewarded with this office. Go ahead.
Sorry. So I'm finally making it back to the book that came out last week, which is Dark Disciple by Christy Golden. Mm-hmm. And of course, after the mad rush to finish through Harry Potter, I've only had a couple hours to read. So I'm only a few chapters into Dark Disciple, but the story is taking you from a time in the Clone Wars. If you watched any of those cartoons, some of the Clone Wars episodes that were never made, never published. So this is taking some of that story with some of the Jedi in there. So Obi-Wan is pretty prominent as part of the Jedi Order, and Master Yoda's in there. And we're dealing with Jedi Voss, and he's got to make nice with Ventress. It's pretty interesting.
All right, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Next week, I'll probably have a good review. Christy Golden is a great writer. She's written all kinds of Star Wars and Warcraft, and I think D&D novels. In the fantasy genre, she's pretty well versed and well known.
Okay.
So it's easy to get to know her characters and to sort of follow them around.
Mm-hmm. She mainly writes books, and does she write any graphic novels?
She writes books. She writes books, and the foreword is by the. Well, I just totally blanked on the foreword. The foreword is by the daughter of Lucas. What's her name? Katie Lucas.
I don't know.
I'm sorry, Miss Lucas, I forgot your name. But in the foreword, she says she really enjoyed sneaking into Star Wars movies with her dad at the movie theaters. Mm-hmm. And I thought, how interesting would that be?
She's young, so she means the Phantom Menace and all those.
She probably does.
Yeah.
But still, could you imagine like going with George Lucas and sneaking in a movie theater to go catch some of your movie that you made? Like, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
That's cool. I speaking of entertainment stuff, I also saw Ant-Man.
You tell me while
to see it.
You tell me while I switch the squeaky chair out for the yoga ball.
Yeah, swap out the squeaky chair for the big ball. Ant-Man, Marvel Comics, right?
Yeah.
Another in the Marvel Comics movies. I tend to like the Marvel Comics movies. They're doing a pretty good job on most of these things. Ant-Man does work mainly for the humor. Very funny. Paul Rudd stars as Ant-Man, and it's got a kind of an Iron Man sort of a vibe to it.
Because of the suit, right?
The suit and the humor. They're actually maybe even going slightly even more laughs on this one. It probably started out even more laughy haha with because Edgar Wright was going to direct it, and I think Simon Pegg was maybe going to be in it.
Okay.
I can't remember if he was going to be in it too. Something, but it was going to be that crew, like from Shaun of the Dead. That crew was going to do it.
Great crew, by the way.
Yeah, I love Shaun of the Dead. So that would have been interesting. But I don't know the story, but that kind of fell through. But Edgar Wright still credited, and I think Simon Pegg maybe as well. That's still a couple of those guys on it. And the humor does come through. Must be left over from those guys. It does work. Paul Rudd's great comic actor. They get it right from the get-go as far as I talk about. I always try to come at these from a writing standpoint too, since having written a few movies. Save the Cat is it's a book by Blake Snyder. I think I've talked about it before, but Save the Cat is one of the very famous recent screenwriting books about structure and how to write a movie. But he pretty much has it all right. And the Save the Cat refers to the early scene that you need to get people to like your hero, or super hate him, or just be interested. This is
part of No Film School. What you're telling us right now.
Yeah, part of No. Yeah,
got it.
Yeah, and so they do get that right. We always want to have the audience get hooked on your character. He's got a daughter. He's estranged from. He's a cat burglar. He got busted, but even the crime he committed wasn't really that bad. We're rooting for the guy. We want him to do well. But it also has this weird thing in it where I'm not going to reveal too much, but Michael Douglas is the sort of the guy who makes it all happen. He's like the genius behind it, but he's older now, so he's sort of passing the torch on to Paul Rudd. But the thing is, there's another aspect to Blake Snyder, who died, by the way, very young. He's like 50. He died of a heart attack or something a few years ago.
Does that make you nervous?
No, I don't know.
It's within a decade of you, right?
Within a decade of me? Oh, well within a decade. Yeah, I talked to the guy. He was a very nice guy. But yeah, croaked. Too early. He left us too early, man. What the hell was I talking about? The other aspect of Blake's
of Ant-Man.
Ant-Man, as it relates to Save the Cat, is he's got Blake Snyder has something in there he calls double mumbo jumbo, where you kind of want to avoid having, like, if you have a ghost movie, you don't want to put aliens in it too, unless
Right.
you establish that this is a ghost alien movie, like right off the bat. You can't just have aliens show up later.
Right. If you're watching a ghost movie and then all of a sudden aliens come out, people are like, oh, come on.
Yeah, especially, well, maybe if it turns out that the ghosts were actually aliens, okay, but you can't really have both of those just in the movie because
Right.
you're asking too much of people. And this one has a little bit of that because Michael Douglas' character, he's, not only has he invented the Ant-Man suit, which is able to, to shrink the distance between atoms around
Okay.
you when for the wearer of the suit, but he also came up with a way to sort of communicate telepathically with ants.
Oh, nice.
So it's cool, it's fun, but you're like, well, if he's so smart, why is he in this mess that he's in? It's like, why doesn't he just think his way out of this? I mean, he could probably, why doesn't he work on the unification theory for, Einstein left, why doesn't he should be able to think his way out of this problem. that he's
Right.
got.
Come up with
He's
time
so
travel
smart.
already.
But it overall works. It's very fun. There's a lot of very laugh out loud scenes in there. So I actually do recommend Ant-Man. So go check it out.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that because I'm skeptical. I like the Marvel series, especially now they're with Disney. I know there's some kind of contention between like the people that own Spider-Man and the Marvel stuff. I enjoy it all because it's sort of the genre that I grew up in, but I'm like, come on, Ant-Man.
It's a little by the numbers as far as the plot goes. Toward the end, you're kind of like, I see where this is going.
So it sounds
but
like
the
it's-
humor kind of carries it. It's fun, and Paul Rudd is a very likable character, so that kind of carries it.
Is it worth it in the theater or is it a definite rent at home?
I would. I don't know. The TVs are so nice at home now. I think everything's fine at home. But the big effects movies, I always say go check it out on IMAX or IMAX 3D if you can. I saw it on a pretty large screen. It was fun.
So this has good effects.
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely.
So you mentioned Simon Pegg earlier, and I Shaun of the Dead, but Hot Fuzz.
Mm-hmm.
Hot Fuzz. And did
Fantastic
you know
film.
he's in Star Wars Episode 7?
I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to know anything about it. I just want.
It's in his IMDb. I don't know what he does, but
It's better not be a
listed there.
crossover where he plays Scotty. I'm going to be pissed if that happens.
No.
Yeah, I will put my hand through my hat, and I will go looking for J.J. Abrams, and I'll say, "You are just like George Lucas, you jerk."
There was a behind the scenes. I don't know if you saw this. I know I put it on my personal blog. I posted this where they went for a couple minutes just showing how committed people are to the story and really making this next episode, this next Star Wars, really sort of a new venture and also true to fans. And it really sounded, at least from this little video, if you look on my Cantus.us, I put a trailer to it. It really, you should watch this after we record.
Mm-hmm.
It gave me the feeling that there's a lot of craft and care and intention going into the film.
Good.
I mean, I'm looking for any reason to like Star Wars 7 because I'm not a fan of Jar Jar Binks. I really like Episode 3. That's great. I really like the Clone Wars. Star Wars Rebels is good. Some of the new books are fantastic. I could do without ever watching Phantom Menace again.
Yeah, I'd say I'm in that same boat. I was looking up some Jar Jar dialogue.
Oh.
'Cause
I think Jar Jar had that hit song "Misa So Horny."
Oh.
So
Oh, dear.
you don't drive a Jeep, do you?
No.
No. Well, one of my friends, an attorney friend, is a Jeep driver, and I haven't heard back from him today. After I texted him, and I hope that no one has remotely taken over his car and caused an accident.
About that.
Now, this is pretty serious. And as a public service, I want to mention, if you own a Chrysler, well, I think Jeep is a Fiat. I think it's Italian, right? Isn't Chrysler an Italian company? If you own a Chrysler car, it has a connection to the internet, and people...
Was it Italian? Did you say Italian company?
Yeah. Fiat.
Chrysler? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like Roman Catholic.
Right,
yeah.
right.
So it's Rome.
So hackers have been able to go on the internet to find your car.
Where else do they go? They only stay on the internet all day, don't they? They don't actually go anywhere, do they?
Well, there's
Maybe
no.
a laundromat? Probably.
No.
Yeah, no.
You have a
probably.
service for that. And they can lock your brakes, they can change the wallpaper in your car, they can screw it up.
Wow.
They could brick your car so you can't even start it, and they can do it from anywhere.
Wow.
This is the most serious, the worst
From
possible
their
thing
bathroom,
that
like
could
from
happen.
Their toilet? They could be like laptop on the toilet?
On their iPhone, from the toilet, while they're dropping a deuce, they could run a terminal command to get into your car
Wow.
and have a remote server crash you off a cliff. So if you drive a Chrysler,
Oh my God. Sorry, I got to jump in. Adam Carolla has this movie. It's called Carmageddon, I guess, or one of those, or where he's always talking about it. He's like, I got to write this someday, but it's where all the GPS, like all the cars, lock everybody inside, and they all start driving toward the Grand Canyon, like and people can't get out of their cars, so they're all just. Like,
if you have a
great
Chrysler,
clock.
that's where you're at today.
Yeah,
that right now. That's today. So seriously, this is a real public service.
Yeah.
If you have a Chrysler or a Jeep, go to the dealer and get this update. You can
so
look up.
They have to plug it in.
You have to go to the dealer.
Yeah, this is real. I know people totally think this is fake,
right? I mean,
because we're want to create fake ads and stuff, but this is actually true.
I wish that I had made this up last week before it happened, but it's actually happening right now. It's pretty terrible.
Remind me to talk about this Chris Pratt thing that I thought was real, but was actually fake.
Oh, Chris Pratt. Yeah. Oh, well, you want to tell me about it now? That was all my public service.
Okay. Because it's just speaking of things that we think are jokes. Whose fault is it that I thought this was real for a little bit? I wasn't sure. I'm like, but the fact that I was doubting, like, is this real? This can't be real. This makes me so angry because 25 years ago I would have read this one. Oh, that's hilarious, like from The Onion. But this is from Clickhole. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know what. I've never seen Clickhole before. But luckily, I read some of the other stories on Clickhole. I went, oh, that other one must be fake. But this is funny. It says the dark side of celebrity. Chris Pratt won't star in a movie unless you pay him money. And it's a big story about Chris Pratt seems like a friendly guy on screen, but persistent rumors suggest that there's a darker side of Hollywood's favorite leading man. According to numerous reports, the Jurassic World star insists on being paid for every movie he appears in, and allegedly won't even show up to a set unless producers are willing to bribe him with cold, hard cash. If this is true, it seems that Pratt's affable public persona is a lie. But it goes on, and I was like, Is this real?
So I think
there's no way I would have thought that 20 years ago. I was like, this is the joke. But
I think Chris Pratt and you and I have something in common. None of us would be the star of a major motion picture without money.
True.
Right?
Yeah. I wouldn't. $25
million.
Maybe on the back end, I would.
And I'll sign the contract.
Yeah.
No, I want upfront and the royalties.
Yeah. I was thinking it'd be like Obama, not wanting to weaken our allies or strengthen our enemies or destroy our children's future without getting that direct deposit. Mm-hmm. Who would do that? But yeah, I was angry that I even thought that might be real for a second. It's like, what kind of world do I live in where I can almost think that's real? So anyway.
Oh, that's
moving
awesome.
On. Did you have anything? You had some important issue you want to talk about. Did you want to talk about that yet, or move on, or table that for later?
Well, I was hoping that you had your particular thing you wanted to share before I open up this topic that might be a little bit.
I have so many.
Houty. Yeah, bring up a couple small things before I ask you the hard questions here.
Okay, well, small thing. The Planned Parenthood thing is really ripping the doors off of this.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty. Have you guys heard about this? You heard about this? Jay Leno. You hear about this? This Planned Parenthood thing with the selling the baby parts?
Well, let me summarize what's happening here. So you go to the Planned Parenthood, and you get the babies that don't want to be born, and you squash them up a little bit. You can smash them down.
Babies that don't want to be born.
You put the rolling pins over it, and you just pop out all the parts, and then you sell them on the black market for money. Am I right?
Something like that. Yeah,
right?
They're not allowed to be selling, pieces of babies, or they call it fetal tissue. But
fetal tissue.
If it's just fetal tissue, like why do they want working livers? Like how can you get a working liver out of fetal tissue? That doesn't make any sense,
right?
Or does it? And they had the chick on there they were talking to. She's one of the higher up people, Dr. Nucatello. She's eating. She's like eating her salad in there, talking about how they're crushing the heads and stuff. Mm-hmm. It was pretty. I couldn't watch the whole thing. I was like, ugh. But pretty.
I think
gross.
she had a little brain spice peppered on top of that.
Yeah, and then there's another one came out. Some other woman talking. She's like I think she's a doctor as well, talking about how, they're haggling for parts over the little livers and little heads and little kidneys and stuff. And she at one point she's like, don't lowball me. I want a Lamborghini. It's like, this is crazy.
Wait,
but she
and Planned Parenthood is a nonprofit, right?
Yeah. And later, they asked her, to about the Lamborghini comment. She clarified. She said that what she meant to say was she had once given a guy a little head in a Lamborghini. That's what she had meant to say.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. But that's a pretty crazy story.
But only because he had a Lamborghini, not because of the size of his unit.
They didn't delve that far into it.
Oh,
but
okay.
that was just part of the misunderstanding.
Do you think you think she's into cubic inches or just inches?
I'd rather not say. I have to watch more of the video to determine that. But that's one that's picking up steam, and I'm actually starting to. I bet there's more videos are going to be coming out too, which will be pretty crazy. But they're not supposed to be doing that, people. They're not supposed to be selling body parts of whatever tissue.
So, do you think that they might encourage women to abort their children at some stage? I'm assuming the children aren't viable; they couldn't live on their own at this point. Do you think they would encourage that in order to have more organs to harvest?
Well, once you establish a baseline of cash coming in, of course they're not going to want to mess with that bottom line, and they don't care. You know, Planned Parenthood isn't really there to help you plan a family; they're there to stop the family from happening. That's their main function.
Well,
of course,
have you ever used
conflict of interest? Obviously, that this cuts into my cash flow.
Have you ever had to use a Planned Parenthood?
No, I don't know. No.
You never had a girlfriend run over there and get I think they call it Plan B, like a little pill that makes you sick for a couple days?
No.
Not you, but makes the girl sick?
No. I've kept track of my sperm very well. Keep it wired tightly. And
okay.
Yeah. Never had any accidents. Although I'm dating Mexican girls sometimes because they're extra fertile. I always say like, you touch their arm and they're 3 weeks late on their period because they're so fertile. But I remember, a long time ago, the first girlfriend way back when, she was like suddenly, no reason at all, turns up 3 weeks late. Like, oh my God. But then she got her period. So that's okay.
That happened to a
like
recently divorced friend of mine. He met a nice younger woman he's been dating, and he got a text message 7 days late. Here's to hoping. So it didn't work out for him this time. She was no longer late after a few days, but I'm hoping the next time she'll miss that period all the way. That'd be good for him.
Yeah, perhaps it would.
So do you think that let's assuming that the baby was never actually a baby, that the fetus was not something that could have ever lived, do you think that it's appropriate for them to take the parts and put them to the best use?
I think very early on, it's first trimester you're talking about? They don't, like when there's no brain really in there, I don't have much of a problem with that. If it's, if they're going to scoop them out, they're going to scoop them out anyway. And, if there's really is at some point, yes, it's just some tissue that's going to be something, but it's not yet. Then I'm okay with that. But they're not allowed to sell it.
I worry about it when it looks like a baby. Like if you could hold it in your hand and go,
oh yeah,
here's the head, here are the fingers. That's the part where I'm like, it might not live on its own, but it might. And I don't know.
I don't know what point that is in the stages of pregnancy. I don't know. But it seems like the first trimester is a good line of demarcation right there. It seems like not much is going on in that first trimester. And I'm an ex fetus, but I don't remember that first trimester. I don't really remember the third trimester either. But I wouldn't hold it against
the golden shaft of light.
The oval-shaped shaft of light coming in. As an ex fetus, I don't think I'd hold it against a young mother who, booted me out in the early before I even had a consciousness. I don't think I don't know when that consciousness gets infused in there, but it probably is not before there's a brain. I don't know. I really don't know though, honestly. But I wouldn't hold it against, like I said, as an ex fetus, wouldn't hold it against someone for chucking me out in the first trimester. I'd say, hey, no harm, no foul. Okay. You couldn't handle it, especially if she was raped or like incest. Okay.
So the organs,
I'm okay with you doing that to me.
So you think the organs should be used to the best effect, assuming that the child wasn't killed, a fetus was aborted that was going to be aborted anyways.
Yeah. What are they using them for? Do we know? Did they say? They aren't
vampires
transplanting them. I mean, they're not using the little, or can you transplant hearts that little into other fetal hearts? I guess you can. I think you can.
I thought the stem cells could be used to grow other body parts in older people.
Yeah, the stem cells is something. Yeah. If
I
they're
mean,
using it for that,
I think
okay.
I think they can take the eyes out and grow them in a tube and then put them in somebody. Like science
Yeah.
is pretty amazing.
Yeah, science is just good science.
Come on, we're just a couple steps away from like taking a shot.
And I do not have any sort of religious bent on this at all, since I am not religious. I'm just coming at it from gut feeling and what science says, and good old science. They're always wrong every other week, though.
Okay, so
yeah.
So related to Planned Parenthood and abortions and children, have you heard of the site Ashley Madison?
No, I've never heard of that site. Why would you suggest I've heard of that site?
Well, this is
no idea what that is. No idea at all.
This is something my wife told me about, and she insists that it was just through spam mail, because I try to be abreast of these issues. I would have expected myself. I was kind of disappointed that I had never heard of this site. When she told me about it a while ago, I said, "This is not something you should be talking about to me." I mean, I guess my spam filters are good, or maybe I don't make enough money for them to target me. But I had never seen an ad. I didn't know anything about it until maybe a year ago, and then I didn't think about it. But recently, an activist team of hackers, probably an inside job.
Can we tell people what Ashley Madison is?
I'm getting there.
Oh, okay.
Managed to get into the servers of the company that runs Ashley Madison and Established Man. Now, Ashley Madison is a website specifically for you to sign up and cheat on your spouse with other married people.
You have to be married to do it?
Well, the whole point is that you're married, they're married, and you are specifically having an extramarital affair. It said, life is short, have an affair.
Yeah, that's their actual slogan.
It's very specific. AshleyMadison.com is to have sex with married people. Like, that's the point of it.
And they have a lot of users.
Okay, so this activist group is threatening to release the names, addresses, phone numbers, credit cards of all 37 million members. 37, mostly in the United States and Canada. Mostly, and about 1 million in Great Britain, unless they take the site down permanently. Now, we don't know anything about the activist group or who they are or why they want this to happen. It could be one woman who's really angry, but
they've not released anything yet.
As far as I know, as of today, Wednesday, July 22nd at 10 p.m., nothing has been released yet, as the last time that I checked.
Well, that's good, because I'll tell you, because the only reason that I was a member of Ashley Madison was because I thought Hillary might be cheating on me. I mean, she's been in and out of a lot of hotels lately, and meet with a lot of young guys and
young women.
And she deleted all of her emails and wiped her server. I got suspicious, so I was only on there doing a recon. So no other purpose would I be on that website for.
Nice, Bill. Nice. So we don't know. Is it an inside job? Was it an angry, woman contacting a group? Is this something bigger? But the question that I have is, what does this say about society? So the divorce rate in the United States is what? What do you think it is?
In the neighborhood of 50%, not quite, but in the neighborhood of, I think. Once you look up a divorce rate, there's a lot of baggage with it. You got to figure out how they're counting it, because it depends who's saying it. They wanted to make it look bad or good. But doesn't that suck that you have to do that every time now? You can't just go to like ABC News,
right,
and look up there, because they're all Democrats who love Hillary Clinton, so you can't really get a good Hillary story on there. If you go to Fox, they're going to be weighted over toward Marco Rubio. We played that in the pool today, by the way, my daughters and I. We played Marco Rubio.
Oh, Marco.
And I explained to them why. They're like, what? Running for president? Okay. And so, yeah, it's Marco Rubio now, not Marco Polo.
Oh, okay. So our divorce rate is pretty high. It's we think it's about 50%. I think it's actually a little bit lower, but I don't have those specific statistics available.
It's in the ballpark of half.
Yeah, that's my understanding. I think the actual numbers might be closer to 40%, but we'll have to.
I think that's right. I think that's right.
We'll have to get some actual numbers on this. So my first thought was the same thing that everyone on Twitter was saying, like, oh, it's 600 million guys and 2 women. One of those women are fake. Actually, a dude, trying to
roughly
cheat.
half the people on there are just seeing if their spouses are cheating. So there's really only about, how many was it? 37 million people.
37 million.
There's really about 20 million people actually actively, and the other ones are just checking.
Right, but even if you discount all like the fake profiles, people that have multiple profiles, what does that really mean that such a large percentage of the people who are married in the United States and Canada are cheating?
Yeah.
And why do you think that people on social media are so outraged? Statistically, the people on social media are the ones cheating anyways, right?
Who's more angry about it, females or males?
It certainly seemed on Twitter like it was mostly women, but if you look at Eric Anderson, a sociologist from the University of Winchester,
I'm tired of looking at that guy. He's such an a-hole.
Eric says that about 50% of all married people, men and women both, will have an extramarital affair at some point during their marriage.
Yeah, it's just as many men as women cheat in a marriage. I've found that out. Yeah.
Right now, anecdotally, women get caught less.
Why is that, I wonder?
Maybe they're better at keeping a secret.
Huh.
So it's interesting, right? Like,
Yeah,
I wonder what happened.
I'm just thinking, why would they be less likely to get caught? Are they 10 times less likely, or just 52% less likely to be caught? And the guys are 48?
That's just anecdotal.
All right.
But this guy Charles Orlando, he's well known.
Another douchebag
as a relationship guy.
I have no idea who he is.
Oh, okay. Well, he went undercover on Ashley Madison
before he did undercover
under the covers before this whole hack broke out. Apparently, he went to his wife and he said, "Honey, I have to join Ashley Madison," and he wanted to find out.
What's that?
She said, "Don't F up." That was her response. She wanted what he wanted to find out is, why are people going on the site? Why are they there? Now, in his article, in Charles, what's the last name again? I just said it. In Charles Orlando's article on yourtango.com, he cites that 50% of married women and 60% of men, according to the Journal of Couple and Relationship Therapy, and that infidelity is a big business. AdultFriendFinder.com, Craigslist Casual Encounters, Fling.com. Those are not safe for work, by the way. That there's apparently, I don't know, other sites, LonelyWivesAffairs.com, MarriedCafe.com, AshleyMadison.com.
Called Cougar or something that sounded funny.
Oh, right. And there's this new thing with like old women and young guys. There's a whole new thing about that.
Ooh.
So the question is, why are these women cheating? Now, he went out, he created 3 fake profiles. 4. One is a woman to find out what guys are doing so he could up his game, and then 3 different types of guys. And he says in his article he did not sleep with any of them. He just wanted to get information. So he went out on dates, but nothing happened. And he found that men want some variety. They want to have more sex. He wasn't dating men, but some of the reasons he's finding, women want to have an intellectual stimulation. Women want to be wanted, not just the mother, the house cleaner, the kissing the boo-boos. They want to be a person outside of the family. And
these are the same reasons everyone's always cheated on their spousal units.
Right.
Men, same reason. Women, same reason.
Except it's just confirmed once again in another study. It was confirmed in the 50s with the Kinsey studies. It was, this guy's finding out. He's citing other research. That's why women cheat. But here in the Washington Post, Eric Anderson again, 5 myths about cheating. Now, I haven't done any of this research. I'm just merely an observer, and I'm thinking about it, and then maybe we want to talk about it. But one myth is that cheating and affairs are more common among the rich and less common in conservative cultures. Not true. In fact, poor women are most likely to cheat. If you really love your partner, you'll remain faithful. Well, that's another myth because people can love more than one person at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings up something I want to mention in a second here. They say we generally agree on what counts as cheating. Well, no, actually.
Not since Monica Lewinsky.
Women,
Some of it's not sex now.
Women have a much broader idea of what's cheating than maybe men do. You know, if you're texting a girl and it's a little bit flirty, that's probably cheating. It says your partner won't stray as long as you keep your sex life exciting. Well, that's not true either.
No.
And that most married people don't cheat, which is also not true as of 2012. And this is the one that was the most interesting to me because, like an ignorant married person, I had no idea about this. But even way back in the dark ages, in 1991, sex researcher Cher Haidt found that 70% of married women had cheated on their partners.
Wow.
So she had a very open group in 91. 1993, a follow-up study found 72% of married men. Mm-hmm. Now, these studies are different than the 60-50 that we heard earlier, but none of these studies are saying 0% or 1%. Mm-hmm. Like, this is very interesting to me. So I wonder, what do you think about our cheating society, Dave?
Well, at least they're going. I hope I didn't bring this ant with me. There's an ant on my computer.
Nah, don't worry about the ant, man.
He's got a bug in it. Yeah, at least they're going to a site they think will be safe, and so at least like 37 million people don't want to ruin their marriage, at least because they think it's going to be secret,
right?
And they're going to be entering into agreement. It's not like you bang the neighbor lady when the husband's away, and then she loose lip sync ships. She starts talking about it. Then there's a big blow up with the neighbor. But this way, it's like, hey, you're married. I'm married. You live across town. We don't know each other. It's going to be, so at least they're, they don't want to ruin their own marriage. So
right.
They want to stay in it for whatever reason. That's probably been the case for every people. Don't want to, they might want to get a little bit of cheat on their diet a little bit. Mm-hmm. And go back to eating the same way when the weekend's over. You want to have a little ice cream, but you go back to eating your salad afterwards. I don't know. And plus, you have children involved, and it's a big mess. So they think this is a good way to sneak it in there. I guess I don't know.
Well, now, what do you think about brothels and sex workers? I mean, it is the oldest industry for a reason.
Should be legal in some areas, I would think. Yeah, why not?
Right. Well,
it is the oldest profession.
In the Netherlands, it's been legal for a long time. And it was my understanding, again, anecdotal, that it was sort of the unspoken way to keep the marriage together. If the man was frustrated, if he was having a hard time at work, he would stop by the brothel.
Little release.
Not make a thing about it, not come and have a big fight, not talk about it. But then he would come home and be happy with his wife and kids. That doesn't address any of the woman's needs, but
right.
I've heard that said. And in 1989, in the Netherlands, Wikipedia cites that 13.5% of all men paid for sex in 1989. That seems pretty astounding to me. That's not like 50% have cheated over the course of their marriage of 5 to 25 years. That's like in 1989, 13% of all men in the Netherlands paid for sex. Like, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think that Ashley Madison is better for a marriage than paying for sex?
Is there a fee involved with Ashley Madison?
Yeah, you gotta pay to join. You have to pay $20 to delete your profile if you want to leave it.
Weird.
I mean, it's a business. It's not free.
I don't know, but at least people are trying not to. At least now, like maybe it's going up. Like it's going up. The cheating is probably going to go up because of this sites like this, and because of declining religiosity too. That's going to be a factor. People don't take the vows quite as seriously. They don't think they're going to immediately go burning in hell because they've done something like that.
Was that in the upper income or the lower income? Do you think there's a difference?
Nah, not really. I don't know. Upper income guys probably have more access to females, though, to younger, to the more females. They have more access.
It seems And again, I don't have any statistics for this.
Than
but
younger males, not women. Women have all access all the time, so
right.
Their numbers are probably going to be pretty solid.
Well, I wonder if lower income couples have more religious affiliation than higher income couples.
Yeah, probably because the higher income couples are more educated, and the more educated people are less religious because
and more open about sex.
They're going to school and they're
except poor married women cheat more than rich married women, according to studies.
Cheat more than rich married women.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And there was nothing about.
I'd like to see a better study on that one. I don't know.
Well, we can go back and look up. So I'm trying to be clear, at least to the audience, what is actual reported statistics that's been scientifically vetted, and what are just maybe my thoughts. Because I don't know, and I also don't want to get myself into any kind of trouble thinking about this stuff out loud. But boy, it sure does bring up like what about, especially so gay marriage is finally legal. That's great. Love who you want, but the next step is what if you're a young person today, 18 years old, and you really love both a man and a woman. And they are both open to you loving both of them. And the three of you have a relationship that doesn't have to be sexually deviant. It doesn't have to be threesomes or ropes and whips or whatever. But, however you want to imagine this, what if you had this relationship where it was polyamorous? Mm-hmm. And does that then turn into, Mormonism?
Well, actually, yeah. I mean, I know you were for gay marriage. I was okay with it, whatever. But are you for 3 gay men marrying each other?
I am.
Yeah.
I want, if those 3 men are committed to each other, to bettering their lives, and they want some legal protection, I think that if one guy wants to pay for insurance that gets split up to 2 other guys, it should be up to him to whether he pays for that or not. If I have a job that pays for health insurance for my spouse and my children, and I can pay a little bit extra for another spouse, let's say that this was societally acceptable, then I would want to be able to pay for that instead of having, I don't know what they do in religions where they believe in having more than one spouse, but if a guy has 2 wives and his health insurance only covers one, he probably has to pay health insurance for the other. And that health insurance is probably way more expensive. So how much does everyone suffer because our society doesn't allow people to be in the relationship that they want?
I might actually be in support of this polygamy for only gay people, but not for straight people. And by the way, if you are against gay people marrying more than one person, I think that I want to know why you hate gays. First off,
right?
Because you must hate gay people if you only want 2 of them to marry. But anyway, the reason
and call us and let us know at 657-206-0777.
Say that again.
Should 3 gay guys or 3 gay women be allowed to marry each other,
or 4,
or 4,
or 6?
And let us know at 657-206-0777.
Now, the reason I'm opposed to it for straight people is because they've actually run some numbers on this, and some of these, especially some of the African nations where they have where a lot of these laws are still, they're still allowed to have many, many wives. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of the wealthy guys will have 20, 30, 40 wives, and there is a lot of angry men running around with no mates. Mm-hmm. And women do have a civilizing effect on men. And when you get a lot of young dudes with no females and they're getting together and they don't got a lot of stuff to do, they over there there's nothing to do but kill people or rape in some of those African nations, some of these Islamic jihadist areas. Not a lot of stuff to do. They're not going to the Y.
But I don't think an Islamic nation allows for any kind of cheating. I think you can be stoned to death if you cheat on your spouse in Saudi Arabia, for instance.
Osama bin Laden had 13 wives or something, didn't he? Had 6 or 8, 10 wives? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
There are some guys they have lots of wives.
Well, I was in Israel on a tour one time, and we went to visit the Bedouins. And the Bedouins are sort of native desert people. And I asked one of the Bedouin guys, because in the Bedouin religion, it's allowable to have more than one wife. Mm. And I asked him, I said, do you have more than one wife? And if you don't have one, would you want to have multiple wives? And his answer was, if I have more than one wife, I have to be able to afford more than one tent. And I thought there was a lot of wisdom in that. Like, sure, if you are in a place where you can support 2 families, you need 2 tents. You need 2 houses. You need to be able to separate them, I guess. I don't know.
You can only afford 1 tent? That's pretty hardcore out there.
Mm-hmm.
My gosh. With some canvas and some string?
Well, they do sort of like live out in the dirt, in the wilderness. Yeah. You know,
oh my.
And take camels to water and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was great going on a camel ride. But, you know, this whole thing with this whole hack with Ashley Madison gets me thinking about these other questions of society. You know, how long is it going to be before everybody just knows someone who's in a polyamorous relationship?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, the upshot is going to be like once you start breaking down the strongest bond we know of between humans is familial bonds.
Mm-hmm.
Father, children, wife,
mother,
children, father, mother. You know, this bond is the strongest one we know. The more of that stuff we have, the more that stuff breaks down. And when all that stuff starts breaking down, look out.
Well, I mean, marriage is already pretty trashed in this country. People get married and get divorced like it's nothing, like it doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm. And
I mean, how many?
As a result, we're not doing as well, like in this country.
How many people do you know have been divorced?
Yeah, many. My parents were.
I mean, I started to write down some names about 7 years ago. I was surprised, like, oh, so and so. You know, we would start hanging out with a couple friend. And then next thing we know, they're divorced. So, I mean, I don't want to... Now you got to like, well, do we hang out with the guy? Or do we hang out with the wife? Or, you know, if the kids are friends and then we hang out with the mom who's getting divorced, does my wife get jealous? Like, it becomes very complicated. Like, oh, so we don't hang out with them anymore. And then other people are getting divorced and more people are getting divorced and somebody else is getting remarried. And it seems very complicated where, like, what's the actual desire here? So do we just lose marriage altogether? Does now now that everyone can get married, just let's not get married? Or do we expand that to say people that really want to have that lasting bond can all do it together?
I don't know, but we are the guinea pigs as far as this country goes. We're going to start heading into that territory. We'll find out if it's good for society to have polyamorous, hetero, and gay. Mm-hmm. Maybe we can have 3 guys and 1 chick get married.
What about 3 men and 3 women?
2 gay guys and 1 lesbian.
Imagine like 4 guys and 4 women who each have relationships between each other. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not talking about me. This is not my thing. But imagine there's 4 guys and 4 women, and between like 1 guy and a couple different girls, they'll have a close relationship, and that same guy and another guy, and between the 8
Sounds
of
like
them,
they better get like a lot of baby wipes. Like they should have like have them delivered from Costco. Well, a pallet.
But besides the sex, imagine they all live in a big house together, like commune style. They all make dinner for each other.
And this is our new sponsor. It's a show.
They raise their
on the
TLC on TLC.
Called, I don't have a title. I'm sorry.
TLC has to find something, so they stop getting child molesters on their show, right?
Yeah.
They got to fire all the child molesters. But I mean, imagine if these 8 people in a polyamorous relationship living in a commune style housing are all raising families together. Mm-hmm. It could almost seem pretty idyllic.
It would. And it didn't work when they tried it in the 70s. They all went away because they all were at each other's throats and ended up wanting to kill each other, and then they all were stinky, and then they couldn't get enough money to feed each other, and then they just decided to stop it.
I don't know if the commune movement in the 70s was about polyamorous relationships. Like
There's a little of that.
Like you look at something like the Moonies, right? The Moonies are still strong today. Everyone's sort of moved back into town and they have jobs now, but they were living in communes together as individual family units sharing common spaces. Having shared meals, doing the dishes together, living on the land. I don't know that necessarily part of the Moonies or even whether any of these were sure, every guy here is completely open to be with anyone on the commune that he has a connection with, and any woman can be with any guy and any woman.
Seems like a place I'd want to go hang out with for a summer.
Uh-huh.
And then go back to doing whatever I want to do. It seems a little too controlled. Like look, as far as societies and countries go, if you have the type of society that America was for like a couple hundred years,
right
up into the 60s, that's the country that gets to drive a car on the moon, buddy.
Yep.
That's the engine that creates so much wealth that we could drive a freaking car on the moon.
Yep.
And nobody else did that. It's been a long time. No one else has still driven a car on the moon but us.
But we've driven a car on Mars.
Yeah, well,
the Mars rover is the size of an SUV.
It's like a little, it's like an RC car.
It is a robot,
car,
but it's the size of a Honda CR-V.
Yeah, it's radio, but that's us again.
And we have robots that just passed Pluto, that just measured the 11,000 foot high ice mountains in Pluto.
Yeah. That's the kind of stuff that you can't, if your society is bogged down with this kind of weirdness with the polygamy and the polyamorous stuff and the weakening of family bonds and the moving away from like free market stuff and getting into this communist stuff, you're just gonna be a nanny state, and you're gonna be taken over by Vladimir Putin eventually, or the Chinese.
See,
people harnessing their
aggression,
aggression, but they're following their dreams and
see, I feel like this strengthens family bonds.
Because polygamy,
the ability, like if a polyamorous relationship were accepted, this were the norm. So
that's what I'm saying.
Say 20 minutes, say 20 years from now, right? Let's say that this is societally acceptable. Now you could have marriages that went for the entire lifetimes of people, because any needs they had that weren't met by their one partner that we've been forcing people with for 500 years, or as long as we've had monogamy, which hasn't been that long. If that can be solved in a way that's open and expressive and understood and accepted, maybe we end up with better families and tighter bonds.
So you're talking about not necessarily at one man, 10 women, but 5 guys, 5 women who are all, when someone drops the baton, someone else picks it up, and they're all getting all their needs met, right? But
well, I mean, in my big
two
macho,
of them are going to fall in love with each other, run off. It's going to happen. One guy's going to think the kid's his, and it turns out to be other guys, and then they get into a fight. It's just going to be just bad.
In the macho in me says, one guy should be able to have 4 wives. And there should be, you should have a big plot of land, and you have 4 different little houses, and you go and visit a different wife each night, and they all make dinner together. And this
is the area where you start opining and you get in trouble, right? Is this the area you were talking about?
This seems like trouble. This seems like you're going to get into trouble here. There's going to be infighting, and no one's going to be satisfied. But if you were in that situation where there were, let's say, 2 guys and 2 women, make it simple.
I think you have geometric progression.
You think it's
going
to be all jealousy and hatred?
It's going to be, it'll get it, And then if you had one guy with the 10 wives, you've got 9 other guys who now it's harder for them to find women.
But what if those guys? What if it was acceptable for that generation? This is not our generation. This is not us. What if that generation was acceptable? Those guys could just find guys.
Huh?
So if one guy has 9 women,
and
another guy could have 2 other guys, and everyone was happy, like,
well, there's only what's the gay population?
I don't know,
about between 1% and 2% of the whole world population.
Those are the ones that are out, because I think that probably a majority of people who are
perfectly, it's
no
celebrated if you're gay.
If you're homosexual in Saudi Arabia, you are stoned to death, and in most of the Islamic countries,
you don't have to go. I think,
or they throw you from a tall building. I think that's actually the punishment from the Islamic State. They say, "Oh, you're gay? Oh, okay. I'm going to throw you from this 10-story building and see if you survive."
I want to tell a nasty joke right now, but I can't. I don't know how to word this right. Because, I mean, how would they know? They have to catch him in the act, or they say, Mohammed, how do you know that Saeed is gay? And he say, because his penis tastes like poop. Sorry, I shouldn't have even said that one. That's a little gross if you have kids in the car. Sorry.
It's funnier to say it with the real words.
Yeah.
Ask us next time we go out for a beer with you, dear listener. Ask us to tell you the joke, and we'll tell you.
Yeah. Dang, I derailed myself. I had some amazing point I was going to make. What were you talking about?
I think it was fantastic. Yeah, it was going to be a great point.
It was like probably it was the point that if everyone heard, they would probably hoist me up on their shoulders and like run me to Washington and kick Barack Obama out of office. Say, this guy needs to be our president, but I forgot it.
Okay, well, no presidency for you.
No.
Well, I think I derailed our whole show with this talk about Ashley Madison and cheating and polyamorous relationships, which apparently has been on my mind lately. So you think we should wrap it up?
Yeah, let's put a little bow on it and send it on home.
I just want to say, for the record, and in case my wife ever listens to this, I only even thought about it when she brought it up. And we have a set of friends who I thought for sure were in a 1-man and 2-woman polyamorous relationship. Yeah. And I had been teasing them about it. And then the other woman moved out.
I know a girl who actually was in a committed threesome. We should have her on as a guest, actually.
All right. That would go over well with the wives. That would be it would be a perfect thing to tell the wives what's happening.
She likes her, yeah. That would be interesting. We should have I wonder if she'd be she would want to talk about that. And she'd have to talk about it really slowly. We have to turn the lights down a little bit.
If your wife was okay with this interview, you should have her call my wife to make it okay, and then we can have this. So, dear listeners, let us know. You can let us know the Indispensable Thursday show. You can leave us a review on iTunes. We love your 5-star reviews. Anywhere you can find podcasts. What's your podcast app of choice?
Well, I like Stitcher now because I don't like to download stuff to my phone. Stitcher's a good way to listen.
So go to Stitcher. We're there.
Podcruncher, good. TuneIn Radio, I think we're there too.
TuneIn, we're on TuneIn. It's awesome. I think that the podcast app from Apple is the #1 app, and we're in the iTunes store. Just search for us. You'll find us there. If you want to chime in about polyamorous relationships, about Ashley Madison, or any of the things that we aren't talking about, the important topics of the day that we're leaving behind, you can call our hotline at 657-206-0777. Leave us a message. And we invite you to follow us on Twitter at Sable and Dave, or Facebook at facebook.com/The Indispensable Thursday Show.
I've been tweeting a lot, so get on there and follow me on the tweets.
Yeah, you have. Your tweets are on fire, man.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dave, see ya.
Bye-bye.